course we'll wait till after that. Many years ago, I took a course in conflict management in churches. I was a fairly young priest and I wanted to learn more about it. And a couple Sundays after I got back from that conference, this gospel that we just read was the Sunday gospel. And I thought, wow, Jesus really knows a lot about conflict management and how to do it well. This is the kind of stuff I learned at this conference on conflict management, that the first thing you do when you're in conflict with someone is you go to them alone. You don't, blow this all out of proportion. You just take an opportunity to meet with them in private and see if you can resolve your differences. Well, if that doesn't work out, then maybe you can bring somebody with you. In my case, it would be maybe the senior warden could come with me and we could talk about, how do we resolve this conflict? Can we move forward? What can we do to reconcile? And if that doesn't work, then Jesus says, well, let the whole church know, and pretty much that's it, right? Well, I had done all of those things in the course of my ordained ministry. There were times when things were not working out and were not going the way they should with a particular program, and somebody was really holding on to it and didn't want to let go. And I thought, well, this is going to be not a good situation, but we have to talk this through, and there'll be some conflict. And well, as long as I went with direct communication, it seemed to be fine. And then I remember during all the controversies over sexuality in the late 2000s and early 2010s and how horrible it got. It really got very, very bad. And there were some particular people in a congregation that I served prior to the 2003 General Convention who really were just getting extreme. And I needed to sit down and talk with them, and I needed somebody with me. I wasn't going to go alone. So I took the wardens with me. So I was following Jesus' advice. And the conflict continued to be ugly, and it continued to involve attacks against not only me, but other people in the congregation. And so it reached a point where I had to stand up to the whole congregation and say, this is not appropriate. We will not accept this behavior, period. So I tried to follow Jesus' advice. But, in reality, I've been really bad about it. I've not done exactly what I should do all the time. Because what is the first thing we do when we get in conflict with someone? It usually isn't go straight to them and tell them, hey, what can we do to resolve this? It's like we go to somebody else in the church and say, did you hear what so-and-so did? And the next thing you know, we're telling to the whole church, did you hear what so-and-so said? Or when people are in conflict with the clergy, they go to the rector or the deacon and they say, Pastor, I just want you to know people are saying, we all know these things. We all know these things. But we know what works. We know what should be done. I mean, Jesus was a good conflict manager according to this gospel, and we can follow his advice. And if it doesn't work out, here's the deal. If it doesn't work out, what does Jesus say? Well, let that person be to you as a Gentile and a tax collector. And I thought, that's it. We can wipe our hands of it, right? We're all done with it. Okay, thanks, Jesus. I don't have to go anywhere with this. At least that's what I thought for a long time. And then the next time that lesson came around and I read it on a Sunday, I went, I forgot what Jesus does with Gentiles and tax collectors. He has lunch with them. He reaches out to them. He continues to embrace them. No, that's not what I want to do, Jesus. I want to be able to say, no, I want to have nothing to do with them anymore. And what you're saying is that if the traditional and appropriate ways of dealing with conflict don't work, then we take the person out to lunch and double our efforts? Yeah. We claim to have a church where all are welcome. Now, we don't put ourselves in harm's way, but at the same time, we are called to embrace and be in relationship with even those with whom we have conflicts. It's not easy. A little over a year ago, my wife and I moved out to the country in Southeast Ohio. We've always wanted to be there and we really like it. And what we discovered soon after we arrived is that there are about 3 families that live nearby who do target shooting on the weekends on their property. So, I was outside earlier today and I heard gunshots. And the place I hear them from most often is around the corner. It's on a road that we take to get into town. So we always have to go by this person's house. And I know from all the bumper stickers and flags and everything he has around his house that he and I probably don't agree on a whole lot of politics. Not only that, my guess is, from what I've heard from this county and some of the things that go on in this county, from some of my friends here, there is concern or fear on the part of some people who believe too many conspiracy theories that the government is going to come and seize their guns. So they have target practice just in case that day comes. But the one who I hear shooting most weekends, like I said, I drive by his house anytime I go to town. And when he's out, which he is often, working on cars in his garage, working on his house or his yard, I go by and I wave. And he waves. And I'll go by sometimes, and you see his house is on a bend in the road that's tree lined. And so I can't see the left turn I have to make or just past his house. So what he'll do is he'll often just make a flurry of, come on, to let me know it's clear. We've had a number of open houses to invite our neighbors to come over so we can get to greet them and get to know them. And this man has not come, ever. But I can't help but think, even though we probably disagree on a whole lot of things, that wave every day, that willingness to tell me when it's clear, the conversations I see him having in his lawn with other neighbors and in front of his house. I hope that we can see eye to eye about some things, probably not the majority. But even though we might find conflicts, we might also find a deeper level of community. After all, he does treat me with grace and kindness by telling me if there's no cars coming. He does wave and say his greeting, and I do the same. And every weekend he does his target practice, and I just know he has his own concerns. God calls us to redouble our efforts when there is conflict, so that all may be in community.